How's it going? I hope you are doing just as good as I'm doing today. We're vibing, you know? It is never a fun feeling when you do pause bench for the first time in a month because you had to go out of town. And, you know, the mixture of doing snatch right after makes my right shoulder feel like it's melting off. But take it as I will. As I said yesterday, I managed to put forth my best effort, especially at that last set, even though a lot of the sets were not what I wanted. But it was there. I put in the effort, whatever. We're moving on. Cool. We remain disciplined and passionate. But beyond that, just getting right into it. Physically, I'm going to give it like a 7.1. Not like a 7 kind of day, but just above. Because it was a good day. I was happy with the benches for sure. I didn't really feel any kickback from that. But it's if you take any time off, especially when you are a dipshit like me that likes to mix powerlifting lifts with Olympic lifting, it takes a minute to condition your shoulders to get used to that kind of stuff again, even if I don't have to do a wide bench. But again, regardless of my physical state being a little shit today, I'm still proud of the effort that was put forth in the workout today. So, and mentally, we can give it a solid 7.85. You know, it was a pretty decent-ass day. Again, homies are always going to be a plus in the mental part of it. If there were no homies, it'd probably be closer to 7, honestly. Not that I can't work out without the homies, but God damn it, anybody who works out with other people that pushes them and supports them, you know what I'm talking about. That shit just riles you up in a different kind of way. And again, like, I stuck with it, and a fun new thing, you know, I kind of had the idea. I've been talking about the cut. You know, I'm trying to stay consistent with it. I haven't deviated once yet. I'm pretty proud of that. But I thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to cut, and this is probably the only cut I'm going to do until, like, I'm in my fucking 30s, because I am just not a cut kind of guy. I love food so much. I always tell everybody I love weightlifting first and then food right after. So it balances out really well, because I never really gain weight or lose weight. I just kind of sit at the same weight while putting on lean muscle mass, which is awesome for the long term. But, you know, I thought, like, again, new passion to put on the list of goals I got. Like, why not? Let's just have fun, try it out. So on top of that, I was like, okay, well, if this is like the only cut I'm going to do in probably years, especially years, I'm going to do it right. So today, the first time in almost 2 years, same with cardio, I kind of figured, I'm like, if I'm putting cardio on the list, we might as well do a little bit of abs, you know? Just some of those good old Russian twists, the V sit-ups, the V planks, the leg lifts, the side plank bridges, some of those. Just 15 minutes of going a little hard on the abs, especially in the low abs and oblique areas, because that's where the most fat I have is. And then 15 minutes of cardio, as I've been doing, so I get a good mix of both, and I'm not too tired out, because I still want my main focus to be on the strength building that I'm doing with my Olympic and power lifts. But again, like, I was just like, if I'm going to lose the weight, I might as well lose it in the best way possible. So here we are. But what I mainly wanted to touch on is to get past my own little fucking rant for you guys, is there's a huge difference between abs and core. I think that these get interchangeably used way too much. I think a lot of people believe they're basically the same thing. People say core, and they're like, oh, your abs. And I'm like, okay, yeah, same muscle group, sure, but the functions are so different. So to me, you know, I'm not a fucking scientist with this shit, but I've been doing this long enough to at least have my own mentality about it, my own definitions, my own way of doing these things. And when I say core strength, I imagine your trunk, I guess. Your, not just your abs, a lot of your abs, sure. But I think, like, your low back and your, like, not really your obliques a whole lot, but just the muscles you use to brace for any sort of squat movement. You know, whether it's a clean, a snatch, a squat, overhead squat, front squat, whatever. Or, again, even on bench, you still use core, if you're doing it correctly, at least. If you're not, you're just using all upper body. But whatever muscles you use in your core doesn't just have to be your abs. It can also be low back. Whatever you use to brace and explode with, that's what I view as core strength. When it comes to ab strength, this to me is not just your line of abs on the front of your body as a whole. Your ab strength, I think, is a lot more isolated than that. So like if you do a leg lift, you're gonna feel that in your low abs, your cum gutters, and then crunches will hit like kind of the whole broad area, but a lot more upper and middle ab, because if you have a six-pack, you can see each individual bump. Those lines of bumps aren't just there for aesthetics. They each are their own little miniature muscle group depending on how you use them, similar to the obliques. It's not, the obliques are not just a part of your abs. Even though they're connected, they are used differently and contract differently, as every part of your body does. And so when I say I have a lot of core strength, I'm not saying that my abs are fucking washboard and I'm cut to shit and I can do 1,000 crunches. I'm saying that my brace on any lift is really good, and the size and sturdiness of my abs, you could say, is good. And like, I think my abs are pretty decently sized. The difference is how cut you want your abs to be. So to me, like, a lot of people will be like, how do you get your core strength up the quickest? Rip the belt off, first of all. If you're gonna max out, that's different. But if you're trying to build core strength, why are you maxing out? And otherwise, do those different variations of squats to get your variability up, that kind of not like shock the body like Arnold Schwarzenegger way when you do two different lifts in one go, but just trying out different movements to shock your core in a different way than it's used to with a typical back squat. Overhead squat is a great way to really test yourself, because people think it's easier than they know, especially if you, like, say you start doing snatch and you try to do overhead squat. It's a different fucking ball game. You got to have that good shoulder mobility, locked out elbows, good wrist conditioning, and on top of that, it hits your core in a different way. It's the same bar path. You still want the bar to be aligned with your spine as much as possible, but front squat, overhead squat, whatever you're gonna do, it's a different usage of those muscle groups. So similarly, I'm trying to lose as much fat in my like waistband area as I can, because that's where all of it sits, and so the low abs and my obliques are the best way to go at the moment, because I got the most fat around my waistband. My abs and my upper abs and my middle abs are already kind of showing, because like they're just not shredded. So like, I guess the whole point behind it is make sure when you are, like, I'm always talking about needing a certain mental desire to make a change to whatever you're doing or whatever lifts you want to do, and why you are doing them. The why is the important part, because if you just do it without reason, you're not going to make as much growth as you can. It's so that just, exactly where, like, on top of why, I want to work my low abs, I'm not just going to do a bunch of crunches and a bunch of basic ab workouts that everybody does. I want to do the proper research and ask around, like, ask the people that you look up to. You're like, you're shredded, what do you do? And try everything out. Trial and error method works for everything, as long as you don't go too heavy or strain yourself too much. So it's important to know the difference so that you can have a proper reason for doing it, because it sucks, but sometimes you can have the best reason and the utmost desire to do something and have a completely perfect picture of what you want it to help with, but it is performed either inefficiently or just incorrectly, or hits a different area than you're supposed to be hitting because you haven't done the research, or you just went into it randomly without really thinking about which specific muscle group you were actually working. And again, everybody can have their own definitions, as long as you understand for your own body what you're trying to work on. But I guess on top of all that, like, I'm not telling anybody what they should or should not be doing. I like putting it out there so that you can have a bit of a cross-reference, a cross-analysis, if you will, to understand exactly how you want to work on the things that you suck at, or the things that you want to make yourself better with. So don't overthink and stress too hard about what super specific things you think you should be doing. It's kind of similar where I talk about with all the lifts that you're doing in your program and everything. It doesn't have to be extremely specific and thorough and overwhelming right off the bat. Same thing with the cut. I'm not trying to just stop eating right out the gate because I'll get overwhelmed and burned out and I'll immediately quit. So do something you're comfortable with, get used to it, get that conditioning up, and if you see some progress, be like, okay, how can we take this to the next level? You know, and even if you don't see any progress, think, okay, now I know. And whatever work you're doing, if you're still working on your body, you're going to see progress somewhere. But if you're not seeing progress where you want to, be like, okay, cool. This was great info. You know, every time I fail a weight or I feel like I'm failing in my form, I always go home and I'm just like, okay, it sucks. Get emotional for a minute. But once you're over it, think, I'm glad I did that at a light weight and I didn't get injured. And I did it in the way where I can now correct it and take the time to truly work on it on its own. So if you feel like you're fucking up whatever you're trying to isolate and you don't exactly know which exercises are the best, or even further than that, which ones are best for you specifically, because everybody's different. You know, somebody can do Russian twists and lose their hip fat in an hour, and someone else has to do it for 16 weeks. But just go into it with the open-mindedness that you would with anything else in order to lead yourself to an increase of not just the passion behind it. You know, I'm always about that passion, but the proof to yourself that what you're doing is working, even if it's just by the most minuscule amount. You know, a lot of people, like I was talking to a guy at the gym today, great guy, I love him, but he was like, oh yeah, I'm not consistent anymore. Like, this is the first week I've been consistent in a while. And I'm like, okay, well, no, look at the broader picture of it. It sucks. It may not be what you want right now, something that you want to work on, but I've been seeing you in the gym for a year and you're still coming back. So to an extent, you are still consistent. So same thing with your abs or your core or any muscle group you want to work on individually. If you are feeling inconsistent or like it's not working, don't lose that credit that you're supposed to give yourself. You're still working out and you're still pushing yourself to the next level, or at least trying your damn best to. So if you're plateauing, feel like it's fucked up or you're not doing it right, take a step back, think about what you're messing up and what might need change. Look it up. The internet's a fucking awesome place because you can find about 30 million things to do differently and try out, and just try a couple things. Like I said in the video just before today, committing for a month, try to commit to it for a while, see where it goes, allow your body to get conditioned to it, and then be like, okay, cool. Even if I didn't get the results I exactly wanted right now, I'm not going to just quit and say, oh, it just doesn't work for me. Everybody has a way to make their body work in the way that they imagine it to, you know? So like the mobility in Olympic weightlifting, or the growing your abs to be shredded versus your core to be overall built and braceful, you just need to accept where you are and take it one step at a time, so that you can actually enjoy and understand and truly learn from those experiences that you initially had. You know, I this is a reference I like to use sometimes. Like I know that it's easy to just disregard because you might not like it, but professors in college, a lot of people give them shit, and some of them definitely deserve it for sure. But a lot of times people don't understand that when they say that what they're giving you is like the bare minimum of the education and you got to kind of depend on yourself to figure out the rest, it's not them just throwing you to the wind on purpose because they don't want to do their job. It's the fact that everybody's brain is different. Everybody's body is different. So one unique individual that got hired for that position can't cater to the entire demographic of college students. You know, whoever is the most similar to them are definitely going to do better in the class. But it is up to you to use whatever you're doing, class, the gym, any hobby, any passion you got. It's up to you to make the actual individual effort to improve in the areas that you think you are shit at. You know? So I think I got on a little bit of a fucking tangent there. I really didn't mean to, but whatever. That's what this channel's for. We tangent sometimes. So, you know, just wrapped it together. Don't overthink it too much. I'm always saying that, but it's true. I know that I'm trying to emphasize a good bit the difference between core and abs, but that's not me saying that whatever you're doing right now is wrong. It's just, if you feel uncertain about the things that you're trying out, then why not do something a little different, or try something that you think you might have a little bit more fun with, or potentially might have a little bit more growth with. You know, it's all about individual, unique adaptability. Because again, whatever advice people are going to give you, realistically, you're going to latch onto about 5% of it, and that 5% can take you a long way and help you figure out what you've been struggling with. But like 95% of it's going to be up to you, unless you have a really, really, really good coach, which most people don't. So, you know, make sure you give yourself that credit for that 95%. You're constantly trying and plateauing. But then that 5% of whatever you end up doing, or whatever thing you hear, or whatever workout or thing you see that enlightens you to the point where you can move to the next level, that's where everything changes, you know? So just because you didn't find out, or you took a little bit longer to get where you wanted to, doesn't mean you did any less work. Honestly, it means you did more work. So at the end of it, you can be pissed off in the moment, like I am today about my snatches, but be happy with the work that you put in. Be happy that you're not injured. Be happy that you got to lift or got to do whatever you wanted to do today. You know, we're here to be healthy, have fun, and remain safe. You know, when your body breaks, that's when you can't do shit. So prioritize yourself above everything. But, you know, on top of it, just have fun. You know, be passionate, run it till it feels like shit, and try something new. I guess that's all I got. Back to the rice, chicken, and broccoli every single meal, because I love it at the moment. So we'll see how long that lasts. Just do you. That's all I got. See ya.